What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Word on Woodward, presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. You can catch us here every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and turning on those live notifications so you don't miss a single second. Before we get started today, Miller Lite is teaming up with the Detroit Tigers to gift one pair of authentic seats from Comerica Park to the most deserving fan so they can feel like they're in the stadium watching the game and enjoying some Miller time. Starting today, fans who are 21 years of age or older can email bestseat@millerlite.com, share a photo of themselves or the nominee, and in 150 words or less, share why they, as a baseball superfan, deserve the best seat in the house. The winner will be announced at the end of July, and the seats will be rewarded shortly after. They better get there soon because tomorrow there is actual baseball. It's the Tigers opening day. They open their season in Cincinnati at 6:10. And then Monday, we've got the home opener presented by Ballpark Franks. Part of that home opener will be a special tribute to Al Kaline. And I don't think I need to tell you guys this, but you're definitely going to want to tune into that. And as you're tuning into today's show, add your thoughts, comments, questions, anything that you want to tell us in the comments on whatever platform you're watching on today. And we will do our best to get to them live in the show, you guys. We have another all-star lineup for you as our guests are Matt Shepard joining us for the mailbag, and we've got interviews with MLB Network's John Morosi, Red Wings senior content producer Dana Wakiji, and a very special catching up with Carly. And of course, Matt Boyd, your starting pitcher for the Tigers opening day, will be joining Art later for the headliner. Speaking of Art, let's bring him in. Art Regner, I'm excited to see what your hair looks like today because I saw it before the show. I'm not sure if we have it combed back yet. Oh, we do. We've got the slick back look going on again.
Oh
today.
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I definitely.
You stretch it out.
I can mess it up. Yeah, hey, in typical fan fashion. Hey, I'm playing tomorrow. I got a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm playing 20 days in a row. I gotta get loose. I gotta get loose.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Roll the shoulders back. Shoulders back.
Oh yeah. I feel. Oh yeah. Oh baby. Yeah. Man, I've been in quarantine too long. Oh yeah. Okay, Danielle, I'm ready to go.
Good. All right. Now that we're all stretched out and ready to go, let's get into our big three for today. Oh my gosh, the hair's messed up too. Oh man, the big three is going to be really big today. Thank you to Chevy for the big three. And our first one, of course, is going to be our Tiger.
This is just for you.
You just made me lose my train of thought, Art. That hair. When's the last time you got a haircut?
February. Yeah, it looks good.
It's kind of crazy how you can get it really messy and then you can get it right back to normal pretty quick. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, normal can be, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, I could definitely. hair is definitely an issue.
Okay, well, our number one topic for the big three unofficially is Art's hair. But our official first topic of the big three is, of course, the Tigers update. They had a couple exhibition games ahead of Friday's opening day, tomorrow's opening day, and Carly Johnston has everything Tigers for us. Carly, what's going on?
I really, really don't know how I'm going to follow all of that, whatever just went on with Art. But I'm going to try my best. Thank you so much, guys. Danielle said the guys are in Cincinnati playing their exhibition games ahead of tomorrow's season opener, of course, against the Cincinnati Reds as well. Ron Gardenhire and a few players talked after the exhibition game loss against the Reds. Michael Fulmer pitched in last night's game against a different opponent, finally, someone who isn't in a Tigers uniform, for the first time in a very long time. Fulmer's performance, especially in the first inning, proves that he has mentally and physically returned, which is really good to see. When he was asked if he thought he was where he wanted to be coming back, Fulmer was optimistic. And so let's check out what he said to say after last night's game.
I'm ahead of where I thought I'd feel and be as far as pitchability. With the field pitch, a slider, curveball, changeup, fastball command was better than I expected today, just kind of from a little adrenaline rush and facing another team for the first time. But again, it's the first game for me. There was no minor league rehab starts. There was just lots of bullpens, lots of IBPs, and a couple inter-squad games. So for the first real game, I thought it went fantastic.
Gardy also spoke on Fulmer, saying he's pretty much passed all the tests he needs to get his spot back in the starting rotation. Let's check that out.
You needed to see from him?
Yeah, he's there with us. He's going to be, in the rotation, probably as an opener type thing right now. Build him up as we go along. He's been through an awful lot, so that's our plan. We'll see how he comes out here in the next couple of days, how he's feeling, and then we go from there.
You love to hear it. And fun fact, Fulmer's first strikeout in almost 2 years came against former Tigers player Nick Castellanos. What are the odds? Hopefully his success can continue against live hitters. And despite pitching success, it seemed like the Tigers couldn't get much going offensively, leading to their second loss against the Reds. Regardless of the outcome, Gardy says he is ready to start the season. Let's hear from him again.
I think everybody had reservations on whether this was the right thing to do and how we were going to do it, but MLB's done just a super job of protecting us and making sure they, crossed the T's and dotted all the I's and all those things on keeping us safe, and I feel pretty good with that. And now we're getting to play baseball, which I think, I know our Tiger fans are really excited about it. I know fans all over this country are excited to see baseball again, so hopefully it'll be a good show. I think that's the important thing. We put on a good show, and we play baseball in a safe way and respectful way, and then we'll go from there.
Well, he isn't wrong. I am personally very excited ahead of tomorrow's opening day. Baseball is back. Hopefully the Tigers can turn it around and get a win to start off the season. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Carly. That was great to hear and great to see Fulmer pitching and feeling pretty confident in where he sits right now. So we're excited to see how the season shapes up for him. Thanks again, Carly. And you guys, Carly will be back for Let's Socialize. So make sure you're dropping your comments, thoughts, questions in the comments wherever you're watching. She'll be watching for them and she will get to them in Let's Socialize.
Absolutely. See you guys soon.
Thank you, Carly. All right, guys, let's get to our second topic of the Big Three today. It's the NHL award finalists. And I promise we're going to talk more baseball and elaborate on the Tigers starting roster in our next topic. But Art, we got to talk about the Hart Trophy finalists. We've got Leon Draisaitl of Edmonton, Nathan MacKinnon of Colorado, and Artemi Panarin out of the New York, the Rangers. I'm not surprised by any of these nominees. And I know that you made your case on Tuesday because this news actually broke while the show was happening on Tuesday. You said you think it's got to be Leon Draisaitl. But there are a lot of cases you could make for Nathan MacKinnon, too. He was huge for Colorado, a really big part of their success this season.
Well, certainly. I mean, Nathan MacKinnon, when he was drafted, he had high expectations when Colorado took him. And really, for the moment he's been a rookie in the NHL, he's pretty much excelled. I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. He had 93 points in 69 games, which is great. And then the Breadman, Panarin, 95 points. So that's all great. And I know you can't base it all on what they bring most valuable to their team and the league, but Leon Draisaitl had 110 points in 71 games. I mean, end of story. Connor McDavid goes out and, he had 43 goals and 67 assists. I mean, that is incredible. He stepped it up. I mean, and that's what I really think that this award is all about. So many times we hear about the MVP of the league. Well, is he MVP of his team or is he MVP of the league? Well, obviously, if he's MVP of this team, he should be in running for MVP of the league, depending, I guess, on where the team is in the standings. But with that said, Leon Draisaitl did everything he could to make sure when Connor McDavid went down that they didn't lose a beat, and they didn't lose a beat. As a matter of fact, I believe, and I'm going off the top of my head, I think their record was actually better. So I think, a lot of, our Canadian press brethren may be holding their nose, because you got a big strapping Canadian lad in Nathan MacKinnon, who's very deserving. I want to say that. He's very deserving. Yet, I think when it's all said and done, you have to give it to Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl is the Hart Trophy winner. He's the MVP. You've just got to tip your cap to what he was able to do this season. So, I just think I think it's Draisaitl. I mean, let's be honest. Where the Red Wings are at right now, I take any one of those three guys. But I mean, they're that good. But and I'm sure Steve would too, actually. But at that point, our MacKinnon, our Panarin, our dry saddle, they're coming, Wings fans. They're coming. Trust me. They're there somewhere. Just not in this year's draft, maybe you never know. But yeah, I got to say it's dry saddle. I really, really do. I mean, it's amazing because when McDavid went out, if you followed everything, the doom and gloom was, oh wow, well, the Oilers are, they're, without the great one, Connor McDavid, and he is great. And then you got Leon Draisaitl, who was always second fiddle, but I'm pretty sure you almost have to put both of those guys in the same sentence now. I mean, and that's how good, that's how Draisaitl stepped it up. That's why he wins the Hart Trophy.
All right, Art, I like it. You made your case even more for Leon Draisaitl, and we'll talk more about the Edmonton Oilers with Dana Wakiji later in the show for Downtown Hockey Town. Right now, guys, we're going to get back to baseball for our third topic of the Big Three, and we're going to talk about opening day, which is tomorrow. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I'm so amped to watch some baseball tomorrow night, and the Tigers have officially released their roster for opening day. So that's exciting news too. And there's the schedule for you guys Friday, and then Monday, of course, the home opener. And like I said, Art, we have got the rosters now officially. Let's look at pitching specifically right now. Did you see any surprises there? Did anything surprise you, that guys that made that final roster?
Actually, no. I really don't think so. I think with pitching, except for, the Matt Boyds of the world, the Daniel Norrises, Jimenez, Buck Farmer, Spencer Turnbull, some of the guys that we've talked about, all season here on the Word on Woodward. I think this is going to be rotating a bit. Based on injuries, how well performances are. I mean, I watched both games from Cincinnati on Tuesday and on Wednesday. Tuesday's game, they were kind of typical. Tigers hit a lot of home runs, and then the bullpen faltered in the end. They give up a run, actually a couple runs, I think, in the bottom of the eighth. They end up losing that game by a run. Last night, it was, the complete opposite. I mean, it was a pitcher's duel, not much hitting on both sides. Tigers only had 4 hits. I think that if you look at it, I think what I really am intrigued about is Michael Fulmer, because he gave up 2 hits. The first 2 guys, it was a single and it was a double. If you would have hit that opposite, if it would have been a double first and then a single, he probably would have given up a run in that first inning. So Michael Fulmer settled down. I mean, he was lights out. First time, as Carly alluded to, first time he had pitched in live for 22 months. 22 months. That's almost 2 years. So nothing really surprised me. Dawel Lugo making the team because he was out of options. I'm sure the Tigers figured he's not going to clear waivers. Chances are somebody might pick him up. And so we can send Willie Castro down, who they sent down. I think that this is pretty standard. Jordy Mercer had a great, I thought had a pretty good camp. Candelario, hopefully he's starting to come into his own. Only taking 2 catchers. Maybe that's a bit of a surprise, but as the season plays out, I know I was joking around when we first began the show, although I do think I pulled something stretching today. I don't know. You better tell Gardy I might not be ready to go tomorrow. But with that said, I really think that I think that this is going to be an intriguing season from this aspect, is that if, once Arthur comes up sometime this season, depending on where the Tigers are at, can he be a shot in the arm? Can he be the boost, And then you're going with Tyler Alexander and Norris's, those piggyback kind of starters, or, Fulmer's going to start a game, which could be opening day, by the way. Fulmer could start opening day, depending if the pitching rotation holds as it's been released now. And then you put Alexander in, and Fulmer is the key. I know I'm kind of rambling here because I'm getting kind of psyched up about this, because I'm eager to see how the season's going to play out. 60 games, anything can happen. And I look at it, I think the field positions, I do think that if you look at it, Ronnie Garcia, Rule 5 guy, that's real interesting. I guess I'm probably happy most, if I had to say that I'm really happy for a couple of players, that would be Bo Burrows, He was I read about Bo Burrows for years. Like, he's the #1 pick. He was mowing him down. Then he got injured. Kyle Funkhauser's another guy. He pitched pretty well last night. So there's a couple of high-end prospects that the Tigers have had pitching-wise that have been injured. But when they first began their professional careers, they were really, really good. Burrows falls into that category. Funkhauser also falls into that category. If they can come through, Fulmer is who he is. Casey Arthur Mize comes up. This pitching could be their strength, and then Romine behind the plate. So the thing that worries me, because I saw it in last night's game, and I actually saw it in Tuesday night's game, Tigers scored a lot of runs early, and then they were like 0 for 18. I mean, they have to hit better consistently. They have to, that was my biggest fear. Only 4 hits last night. And so I guess, I kind of came as enthusiastic as I was. The last couple of games have put I've had a reality check that, this is a team that lost, unfortunately, 114 games last year. But again, I think they're going to be better. I think the pitching. So the roster really did not surprise me. It didn't surprise me. I think we all knew Mize was not going to make it out of the gate. And depending on what happens, who knows? Maybe Dan Dickerson will get his wish, and we can see the Torque Man and Riley Green maybe up here this year. Although Riley Green's going to be fast tracked. I've convinced everything that I've heard from Ron Gardenhire and even Al Avila. They're trying to hold their enthusiasm. Not so much Ron, but definitely Al. But I think Riley Green has grown up quickly, and he's grown into a major league ball player. And I'm pretty high on him, even though he didn't make the roster.
Art, I have to say, though, I don't know if it's Dan Dickerson's dream to have the Torque Man and Riley Green in the roster. I think it was yours, and you're using Dan Dickerson as the reason there.
Well, Double D, who watches this show all the time, expect a nice little package at your house today, my friend. And
oh no,
and I think that I have convinced him. I mean, he was kind of on the Torque train, as we're calling it now. Although Anthony Mantha, with all due respect to the BT Express, he is the Express. But with that said, Torkelson is really, really intriguing. He showed in this in the preseason or summer camp that he has a really good eye. He's really selective, and for a young hitter who would be, you would think, overly anxious when he gets up there to prove something or wanting to mash the ball because he hits home runs. He was pretty selective. That's a really, really good sign in my book, at least. And so I'm excited about that. Chances of seeing Torkelson here realistically probably aren't good, but if the Tigers unfortunately suffer injuries and the season doesn't play out like they have it, who's to say the last 10 games or so of the season that if Detroit isn't competing for a playoff spot, that they don't bring some of these guys up because, again, the unknown quality, Daniela, as we've talked about, is they're playing in Toledo and they're playing against each other. Then what happens? There's no minor leagues. Do they go to a fall league in Arizona? Do they play overseas if there's something going on overseas? Who knows? So maybe it would be prudent for the Tigers, depending on where they're at this season, to bring some of this young talent up and let them get a taste of the major leagues, because I don't think service time will be an issue after a certain amount of time. Baseball almost has as many esoteric rules as hockey. So, so I really have to study up on that, but I'm excited. Even though now, boy, I don't know what I did, but man, it's really starting to hurt. So I won't be in the lineup tomorrow, unfortunately, Tiger fans, but some pretty darn good Tigers will be.
Yes, they will be, Art. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing you out there. Oh well, we'll have to move on from that one.
Oh yeah, I know. I know you're really upset, Danielle. I know. I mean, even though you constantly brag about your athletic prowess, I am surprised that Danielle.
Not bragging when it's true. Is that the saying? I don't know.
Daniela should be on the U.S. women's soccer team. There's no question about it. Based on what she's told me about her exploits, this young lady right here should be on the U.S. soccer team. She would, and trust me, if I know Daniela well enough, she would reenact that famous Brandy Chastain scene too. After she scores a goal, in a penalty shot and wins the World Cup for the United States. See, I'm in your corner.
That's like my dreams are. You're in my head now, but that could be a whole another segment. So maybe we'll answer that one day. That wraps up our big three for today, everybody. Thank you to Chevy for presenting the big three. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. You guys, as I mentioned, we have a very special version of Catching Up with Carly today, and it is a big surprise. Lifelong Tigers fan Steve Rockwood is standing by with Carly right now. Steve has attended the Tigers opening day for the past 44 years, and he's had tickets to this year's opening day as well. Recently, he was diagnosed with a reoccurrence of prostate cancer. With the help of Steve's wife, Christine, and the Detroit Tigers, we're looking to give Steve a little surprise today. Carly, take it away.
That's right. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. Today, I'm joined by a lifelong Tigers fan, Steve Rockwood. How's it going, Steve?
Great.
Good. All right. So I know opening day is tomorrow. Unfortunately, we can't be there in person. But I hear this would have been your 45th consecutive opening day for the Tigers. That's incredible.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
Do you have a favorite opening day memory?
Oh, well, one of them was, I think it was back in 78 or 79 when it got snowed out and it got postponed a day.
Yeah, you really get the tricky weather. But now opening day is in July. Are you looking forward to watching the shortened season?
Sure. I'm glad they're starting to play it. We need to see some baseball.
I know that we do some live sports. It's really exciting. But Steve, I have a surprise for you. So I'm not actually the only one who's in on this interview. Let me bring in Jack Morris.
Oh, wow.
Steve, how you doing?
You there?
Great. How are you?
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes, I can.
Hey,
I can.
Congratulations, man. That's quite an achievement to be able to not only hang in there as long as you have, but to be at so many straight opening starts. I mean, you beat my record by I don't know how many years. It's crazy. In 79, by the way, I was going to start that one. So I vividly remember that year going out. I actually had to go out to the mound and take a picture for the free press that they put on. I was standing on the mound throwing a snowball. It was crazy. But how did you get into this? Was it your parents, family, friend? Who was it that initiated that love for the game of baseball?
Well, I played Little League when I was a kid. My dad was a coach. And I found a picture this morning of me and our baseball team coming to a game in 1961. And I grew up in a little town called Eaton Rapids up by Lansing, but we brought our coaches brought our baseball team down to a Tiger game back then, and I've just always been a fan.
Can you talk to our fans about some of the differences you've seen over the years? You go back to the years with K-Line and the great '68 team. A lot of changes in those years. What do you love? What do you not so much like about the game today? And tell me some of the fond memories you've acquired.
Oh, I like just being there and like the smell of the game. There's a certain smell when you go to a Tiger game, and the hot dogs, the beverages, the food. I just enjoy being there, and I always like going to opening day. There was a time when back in 75 was my first game, and the night before, my buddy Steve, who's no longer with us, and I thought, let's go to a Tiger game. So we drove up and that morning and got tickets at the gate and sat in the bleachers that day. And then the next year I moved to the Detroit area, and I've been going ever since. there were a couple years when I would get tickets, and it would probably be about 35 of us that would go to opening day. And and I was there in '84 when we won the World Series and the final game at Tiger Stadium, and it's just fun going there, and it kind of other than this year, it means like spring is coming and spring is here and summer's coming, opening day.
Yeah. You've got quite the resume of memories, I'm sure. I hear your wife, Christine, giggling in the background. I want to know if she's going to prepare some of that aroma at home for opening day here on Friday.
Yeah, we'll try.
Cook some hot dogs and maybe make some popcorn.
Yeah. Another good memory was, I think it was around '92. We were down in Florida for spring training, and we were staying at the hotel, the Holiday Inn, and I went down in the morning, and Sparky was on the phone doing a call into JP and McCarty, and I went up and got my sons, who were like about 7 and 10 at the time, and when he got off the phone, I said, "Sparky, you have any words of wisdom for these guys?" And he looked at him and he goes, "Just remember, boys, blood's thicker than water." And so they've always remembered that.
That's Sparky. She had some great inspirations for a lot of us guys. Now, tell me a little bit about what's going on with you. I hear you're going through a second bout of prostate cancer. How's that going? And are you winning the battle?
It's going good. They're trying out some new medicine now, and the main thing with prostate cancer is you've got to, when you're our age, you got to continually get your PSA checked to make sure that level is manageable. And so mine had gone up a couple years ago, and I got a good team of doctors, and things are looking good.
No, nothing but the best. I know a lot of guys that have gone through it and survived quite nicely. So it's a hassle now. It'd be tough. Hey, we really appreciate all the years that you've been loyal to the Tigers. I'm sure you've got some favorites along the way, some favorite players. Sounds like you're pretty much up to date. How about our team this year? Any predictions?
I think we're gonna. Well, we're tied for first place right now, right?
Love to see and hear that. And you know what? I really think that's their attitude. I think they know that with this shortened season, they're going to be more optimistic. If they can have a good start, you never know what can happen in this kind of season. Steve, we want to just give you a chance to. I know it's got to be disappointing for you not being able to attend this year's opening day, but the Tigers are going to reassure you that they're going to get you a game-used baseball from opening day at Comerica Park, and you're also going to receive some tickets for a future game whenever fans can come back to the stadium, and we know you're going to be there in person. So the Tigers are going to get you some tickets for a future game. So just wanted to thank you for coming on, being a big supporter of Tiger baseball all these years, and spread the word, and God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Wow. Nice to talk to you.
Wow.
You got it, buddy.
Awesome, you guys. That was incredible. It was so good seeing that look on your face, Steve. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today. Steve, can't wait to see you back at Comerica Park, hopefully soon. We wish you the very, very best in your journey. And thank you so much, again, for sticking with us and being the best Tigers fan you can be, and joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer.
Well, thank you very much, and go Tigers.
Go Tigers! Love it, Steve. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly and Jack and Steve. We wish you all the best. That was amazing to see. Art, he was not only super excited, but you could hear his wife, Christine, in the background, who helped us set this all up, laughing the whole time, having so much fun. She was so excited for her husband. That was great. They did such a great job with that.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm sure that Steve and I have crossed paths many times on opening days. I had quite a streak going there for a while, and then I became too cool and thought, well, I'll go the second day. after opening day when there's less crowds going on. But what I really liked, I kept looking at it. I kept looking at Steven saying, I think I know this guy. I think I know this guy. He looks so familiar. And then I looked, and again, kind of really dating myself. He looks like Dick Smothers of the Smothers Brothers. I mean, he's almost a dead ringer for him. And I've got to say, I am envious, Steve, of your hair. Your hair is outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And I don't know, I got to pull my hair back or something. I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on with it. Mark wants me to pull it back, so I guess I did. I don't know. I have no idea. It's something about framing my face. So oh man, now I just twinged my arm again.
Another Steve said
really, that was great hair.
You did an incredible job with this. It was so cool to see you be a part of that. And Steve actually said that the Tigers are tied for first right now, and I love that attitude. That's the most optimistic thing I've heard in a while.
I know. He's a good Tigers fan. I mean, it's true. Season hasn't started yet, so it can go anywhere right now.
Yes, that was awesome. And you guys, this is Bet You Didn't Know Now, presented by Motor City Casino Hotel. Of course, Carly has to be here for that one. And today she's going to be the ringleader. She's got all the questions and answers for us. So Carly, take it away.
Thanks, Danielle. And I know I had to fix my hair too. I didn't like the way it looked after that interview, but we're headed into opening day tomorrow, as we've been talking about all stream.
I'm going to try here. My hair's just like yours now, Carly.
No, love it. Art, I swear if you move that, I'm going to be upset. Keep it. Keep it.
Who wore it better?
Love it. A little scary,
Yeah,
but
who
I love
wore
it.
it better? Yeah, really. It is it's even scaring me.
Oh, so beautiful. My vote is you. Oh, I can't. Okay, anyways, but you didn't know. Okay, like I said, heading into opening day tomorrow with the Reds. After some exhibition games this week, we're going to start the series in Cincinnati. I have a few questions for you guys going into this series. First, we're going to ask Art. So the Reds could feature up to 5 lefties in the lineup. Will that create some difficult bullpen decisions, do you think?
Well, yeah, it always creates difficult bullpen decisions. Yeah, maybe I better get this off. It's even distracting me. Anyway, with that said, I will say that yeah, because the whole righty-lefty combination. When you have a bunch of left-handed pitchers, you usually have mostly right-handed guys in the bullpen, and you're trying to figure out, do you want to match lefty versus lefty? And then I guess the from what I've always learned, or what I've been told when I talk to people that actually know baseball really, really well, will say that, if you can ever get a lineup that is left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and with 5 guys in their lineup. And remember, another thing we really haven't talked about too much is that the designated hitter now is going to, tomorrow when Miguel Cabrera steps up, it'll be the first time that, a Detroit Tiger has been a designated hitter in a National League park, because the National League has adopted, at least for this season, the designated hitter as well. So that's really kind of an interesting dynamic. Now, the thing that I find interesting about this is that, so Cincinnati, who expects some big things this year from their team, that is interesting, and it does present some bullpen matchups, but really it might play into Matthew Boyd's hand, even though he's a lefty. Last year, lefties hit .231 against Matthew, which is really pretty good. His whip, which is walks and hits per innings pitched, is 105, and so and he had 44 Ks against them last year. And when you're talking about that whip, that's like in Clayton Kershaw territory. By the way, did you know that Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford know each other? I guess they went to high school or something together. So how many times have we heard that? Like a billion. But anyway, if you look at, you have way too many. But God bless them, though. I'm glad that they're friends. But if you look at it, what Matthew Boyd has been able to do is that, and we're going to get into this a little bit with him later when I talk to him, is that he's modified and worked on his curveball. So now, along with his slider, he has 2 off-speed pitches. I think, by his own admission, Boyd last year got way too. And look at this. Or pardon me, the slider and the curveball. They're basically about the same pitch. It kind of looks like, it almost looks like we're doing one of those, who caught it better, and they're almost identical. Look at the break on that ball. It's off speed. The hitter thinks that he's obviously thinking it's not going to dip like that, and it's coming in. He's expecting it to be a fastball, and it's not. And he sees it. He's lined up. And remember, this baby's coming at him. This ball's coming at him really, really quickly. So. He has to make a decision. Am I going to swing at it? As soon as he decides, yeah, I'm going to swing at it, he starts swinging at it. He realizes it's not quite coming in quite as fast, and then it tails off. And Matt Boyd, along with his with his slider, if he can perfect that curveball, plus his fastball, he strikes out a lot of guys. I think that a left-handed lineup actually could benefit Matthew Boyd tomorrow. So. I think it's pretty interesting. I think once you start getting into the Tigers bullpen, regardless if they have 5 left-handed hitters or 9 right-handed hitters or 9 left-handed hitters or a mixture, which Cincinnati will have, I think that's a dicey proposition based on what I saw 2 nights ago in Cincinnati. Last night they were pretty. They were pretty good. I mean, they still gave up a run in the bottom of the 8th inning to lose the game, just like they did on Tuesday night. But hey, with Matt Boyd on the bump, as he likes to call it, I'm not worried about it. I'm really not worried about it. But it is a good point, though, Carly. It is, a left-handed hitting lineup, a dominant left-handed hitting lineup usually does pretty well in Major League Baseball.
Well, there you have it. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully we can come out with a win tomorrow in this season opener. Okay, now, Danielle, I have a question for you. They have a few right-handed pitchers as well who are projected to start. Who do you think will be their starting pitchers during the series, though?
Well, the Tigers are going to see, like you said, Carly, majority right-handed pitchers. In each of the games this weekend, they're going to face Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, and Trevor Bauer. So right-handed pitchers all weekend. 2 of those starters are former All-Stars, but their bullpen has only one proven left-handed reliever in Amir Garrett. So the Tigers will see pretty much all right-handed pitching this weekend, maybe a little bit of left-handed pitching, but mostly right. Bad news for Tigers fans. Last season, the Tigers finished dead last in the league against righties with an on-base plus slugging percentage of just .288. However, Victor Reyes, Miguel Cabrera, and Jacoby Jones provided some encouragement swinging well against the righties. So they had some decent numbers in those guys, but the Tigers were looking to add some power to their lineup in the offseason. So the good news for the Tigers is that we saw good numbers from the additions of Jonathan Scope, CJ Cron, and Cameron Maben. A lot of those guys showed great power in the exhibition games against Cincinnati, who they will be facing, like we said, tomorrow and all weekend in the Tigers opening weekend. So, Carly, Scope, Cron, and Maben are all off-season additions for the Tigers. Which one of these guys are you most excited to see?
I am very excited to see first baseman CJ Cron. Personally, I can't wait to see what he does with the Tigers this season. He was signed as a free agent after a season with the Twins, and we watched Cron lead the team in home runs during camp, hitting 4 home runs. Well, of course, it could have been 5 had Riley Green not robbed him with that awesome over-the-wall catch. But I'm really hoping that Cron can keep the ball rolling throughout the regular season. He's someone that I've really enjoyed watching throughout this summer camp. So hopefully, again, like I said, he can keep that momentum going into the regular season and really get us some home runs. If not home runs, hopefully how to help out with some of these other big hitters like Cameron Maben and Miguel Cabrera, getting those RBIs and really helping out the team.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how they fill in around Miguel Cabrera, because I know that's what they've been trying to do with this lineup. I'm excited for this weekend, Carly, but I'm also excited for this Let's Socialize segment. So that was Bet You Didn't Know, you guys, presented by our friends at Motor City Casino Hotel. And I say I'm excited because Carly has some big news for us. She's been all over social media accounts, but the first topic she's going to break is a very, very cool one. Carly, take it away.
Oh, yeah, you guys. Very exciting news coming out of the National Hockey League. We hear that Seattle has a name and a logo. So world, say hello to the Seattle Kraken. We love it. The team announced the name this afternoon. Now they just need some players. I mean, I dig the name, the logo, and the colors personally. And I think we also have a picture of their home and away jerseys, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully we can pull that up. But again, Seattle Kraken, it's really cool. I mean, they put out an awesome hype video that you guys should go check out. And they are now on Instagram with the name Seattle Kraken. So hopefully this doesn't prove to be too tall of an order for the Red Wings. Hopefully we can beat them. But I mean, how exciting. It's a new team in an old league. So moving on to the Tigers. I know we've been talking about the opening day starting roster all stream long. But here I have the starting Tigers rotation for the pitchers in Cincinnati for this series. Tigers PR tweeted, Friday we know is Matt Boyd as our starting pitcher for the season. Saturday is going to be Ivan Nova, and Sunday is Spencer Turnbull. So really looking forward to seeing what these guys can bring. Hopefully we can come out with a great series to start the season. But that's all I have for this mini Let's Socialize. Later on, we will be answering questions. So make sure you send those in for Art, Daniela, and I.
Thank you, Carly. How cool is that, Art? They have a name for the Seattle Kraken, well, for the Seattle team. They are the Seattle Kraken. I know we were talking about this, so that should be pretty exciting. And I know Carly was mentioning the jerseys. I actually have the picture on my phone here, if you guys can see that. You should check it out on Twitter, though, because it doesn't do it justice. They look really cool. You guys should definitely check it out. And again, make sure you're sending in your questions, like Carly said, for Let's Socialize later in the show. We will try to answer them live for you. But right now, we're going to get into Brush Street Beat, where Art and I were joined by John Morosi yesterday. Let's get into Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare. And today's guest is a returning Word on Woodward guest. We've got MLB Network's John Morosi. John, last time we talked to you, it was kind of the beginning of all of this pandemic, the shutdown. What have you been up to? Sports are coming back. So what has your last few months looked like?
Well, Daniela and Art, great to be with you again. Last few months just really leading up to what we're experiencing right now and the possibility to get back to the stadium at least a handful of times, I hope, over the course of the season. Actually, exciting news to share. We've just begun MLB Network's coverage of the regular season and planning that. And here in the Midwest, as you both know, we've got a lot of locations now that are within driving distance. So, in fact, this weekend, I plan to be in Cincinnati for the opener, which is on MLB Network for viewers outside of Michigan and Ohio, of course, for the national broadcast. So I'll be a part of that broadcast on Friday. And actually, I will drive from Cincinnati to St. Louis for the Saturday game that we have on MLB Network. So my bosses out in New York were asking me, like, are you sure you want to do this? I said, guys, in the Midwest, Cincinnati to St. Louis, we're just warming up here. This is not a problem drive at all. So we're going to be very optimistic, and it's going to be very much automobile-based baseball here for us here in the Midwest, which is great. And just excited to get back to the ballpark and be able to help tell the story of truly an historic baseball year in American history.
It's interesting you would say.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, I was just going to say, it's interesting you would say that. I lived out east there for a while, and depending on what parts of New England you're in, you can drive through like 6 states in 45 minutes. I mean, it's a little bit smaller area. So, I don't know if they realize how big this country is. It's like that old New Yorker cover, that many, many years ago. With that said, JP, I wanted to ask you this question because it seems that maybe getting to this 60-game season was, we just languished forever. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? However, now that it's here, it seems with the sports protocol and everything that Major League Baseball has done to, try to combat COVID-19, the Tigers were talking about it. It sounds like this plan is about as solid as any plan can be with an unknown virus.
I agree, Art, and a couple of things stand out. Number one, the most recent data that we've seen from Major League Baseball and the Players Union says that the last week or so of testing resulted in less than 0.1% of those tests being positive. That is a really encouraging number and really emphasizes to me that the players and the staff have been following the protocols. And that's tremendous news. I think in the midst of obviously a lot of difficult news for our country and the world, that shows that even as the case numbers are still very high across the United States, that there are ways to hopefully keep this season going safely. And in fact, Rhys Hoskins of the Philadelphia Phillies participated yesterday in a roundtable that was hosted by Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey about the return to play. And Rhys made the point when the senator asked him about how the morale was for the team. Rhys just said, "So far, so good, Senator." It was a great response. And Rhys went on to say that initially he was skeptical about the situation and knowing how well it might work, but that as the protocols got in place, as the testing procedures became more fluid and the answers got back a little more quickly, that the confidence has grown among the players that this is going to work and that we're going to be able to complete this season. So it really is, Art and Daniela, I think a great triumph to have gotten this far, to at least be able to begin a season. And now the key thing is adhering to the protocols as well, now that we're moving into more of the traveling phase and you're going to be in hotels, you're going to be in different cities. That very tightly controlled routine of your summer camp is now changing. And I think if we're having this conversation in a week, 2 weeks, and we're still seeing very low positive test numbers from that tier 1 group for MLB, I'll be really encouraged that we're going to see the completion of a 60-game season and the postseason.
John, as you said, so far so good when it comes to the COVID-19 precautions and everything that comes with it. And you mentioned you will be in Cincinnati on Friday for the Tigers opening day, first game of the season. How exciting is that? I'm a little bit jealous of you, frankly, but I want to ask you, the Tigers have really raised some optimism here in Detroit. And I don't think anybody is overly optimistic, but we're excited about the season. A 60-game season really is anybody's game. What are some of the positives that you have seen out of the Tigers so far?
Well, a couple of things, Danielle, stand out to me. Number one, the fact that the plan, as we've been hearing about for so long, is in place, and is showing some good results. You think about the play of Riley Green, the way that Casey Mize has pitched, and I believe we'll see Mize in the major leagues this year. The results so far, and again, it's not official major league regular season results, but you're seeing these players in a major league stadium performing as you hoped they would. And when you've got Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson in the same organization, you can dream about that base now of young prospects coming together. It's incredibly encouraging to hopefully see that continue. And I believe that really that they're both on track in terms of what was expected of them, both Green and Mize. Now, I think with the pitching, Matthew Boyd, a very deserving first opening day start in his career. Very excited for Matthew to have that for his family as well. Just such an amazing person, as we all know, a great ambassador for baseball and for the state of Michigan, too, that he's become. So I think Matthew's going to really seize the opportunity. And I think, too, that the players that have come in, Jonathan Scope and Chrome, with all the power we've seen from CJ during the course of the inter-squad games, it's encouraging that basically the plan and what was expected of this group is effectively happening. And while it still requires a lot of patience, I think Tiger fans can look at what's happened the last several weeks and say, okay, I see the plan. I'm starting to believe in the plan, and we have reason to believe that ultimately it's going to work.
JP, you've covered sports for a long time. I mean, you know how some organizations look at their young talent, and, let's go back to the old Red Wing days, the old Ken Holland philosophy. We want them overripe. You're going to be in Grand Rapids for 20 years, and then eventually you might make it up to Detroit. With all that said, though, it appears that what Al Avila has said and what Ron Gardenhire has said about Riley Green this year, it seems that he has accelerated his pace. What is your philosophy with a high schooler? We're talking about a high schooler, 1 year out of high schooler, about bringing them up to the major leagues.
Well, Art, it's a great question. Certainly it's something that's been discussed a lot around the game the last several years. How young is the right age to have a player come up? And I would just point out that we have seen a lot of the best young players in the game, those that have won Rookie of the Year awards or become perennial all-stars. In many cases, they do arrive to the major leagues in their early 20s. And so if Riley Green arrives next year, let's say, he'd be arriving at a similar time, maybe not exactly, but around the same time that someone like Mike Trout established himself. Obviously, he's the best player in the game, but those really talented players, a Christian Yelich, a Nolan Arenado, these are all high school draft picks that I'm mentioning to you. I think that age, and it's hard to put a player as young as Riley into that same conversation. But when you talk about someone that could be one of the best 20 prospects in the sport, 25 prospects in the game, depending on whatever the ranking system is right now. He is in that conversation, I believe. There's a thought that you're talking about someone who is Christian Yelich-esque in his ability, and Yelich obviously is one of the best players in the game. So it's an incredibly robust belief that I think a lot of people have in Riley Green right now. And I think one of the really exciting things for the Tigers and their fans will be for the years to come, that you're going to be able to have a discussion between Green and Torkelson as to which one you think will have ultimately the higher ceiling. And when you're having a debate like that between two players of that caliber, your farm system is pretty good. And then you add in the pitching conversation too with Mize and Manning and Skubal. It really is, I think, the best we have seen this system be, certainly since Verlander and Zamaya arrived and Granderson right around the same time. Certainly the best time we've seen it since then. And the best time it was before that was probably, if not Tony Clark and Fryman in that era, it was probably back to Trammell and Whitaker and Gibson. So this is one of the best groups of players we have seen this organization ever have. So I think Tiger fans have every reason to be thrilled right now.
A lot of promising prospects, especially the pitchers, like you said. Another pitcher I want to ask you about is Michael Fulmer. He's back, he's healthy, and hopefully we're going to see him make his way into the rotation at some point. What are your predictions of the role that he's going to play this season for the Tigers?
I think they'll be very careful, Daniela, about his overall workload, but it does appear that he is back, he is ready. From a fitness standpoint, he looks fantastic. I think that's a really key part, that he'll be able to withstand the overall workload and the demands of pitching in the major leagues again. I think this, to me, is all about having a good platform for next year. And certainly you look at the overall dynamics, and could you see that the Tigers surprise and contend this year? Perhaps. I would say it's maybe not the strongest chance at the moment, but I think next year, if you get Fulmer with a good base of innings underneath him, and the arrival of Mize, we'll see what happens with Boyd. Do they make a decision to move him at the deadline or keep him for next year? You look at next year's rotation. If Mize shows up as expected, and then Fulmer is close to being himself, and you get Boyd there, and you see some certainly some growth from Turnbull as well. I think he's still got a lot of potential in the major leagues. This has the makings of a pretty exciting group, and you could see, I think, a real strong set of results from this team as early as next year at the major league level. So I think Fulmer is very key to that, to show that he can be that pitcher again. I would say for me, Daniela, I would certainly more prefer him to be part of this team next year and to rebuild. And you either take your chance with him as a possible contending team next year, or he's maybe a really intriguing trade person at the 2021 trade deadline.
JP, I know we've talked about Riley Green, and you mentioned Spencer Torkelson. Kind of reading between the lines, it appears perhaps his biggest adjustment, besides learning how to play third base at a major league level, is maybe realizing the fact that major league pitching is going to challenge him. He's going to see they're not going to back off from him. It's not like college. It's not like he's not going to get walked. He's going to be up 10 times. He's not going to get 7 intentional walks. Do you think that is the biggest adjustment, especially a young hitter like Spencer Torkelson is going to have to make?
I think so, Art. And for me, this is such a unique year for everybody that I would not base too much off of the performance in an inter-squad setting or even the minor league inter-squad games that will occur, we believe, in Toledo here as things move forward. But I think you're right. It's the old bromide that we always heard from Jim Leyland about, tell me how a pitcher can get the hitters out when he's in the strike zone, when he has to throw a strike. And the reality is the quality of the strikes in the major leagues has probably never been higher. You've got pitchers that have extraordinary stuff, and they're locating it well with movement. And Torkelson is simply going to see better stuff than he has ever seen before. And that's just a natural part of the maturation of a young hitter. So I think this year for Torkelson is all about experience. Get into the major league stadiums, get around the major league staff, have an experience where you really have the chance to learn and develop just a good background, a good Rolodex of seeing these pitchers. And then as you move towards 2021, I think it's entirely possible that we see both Torkelson and Green arrive by the end of next year. And then all of a sudden, you think about what a fun team this will be to watch by the end of 2021. You think Torkelson, Green possibly, Mize, and then by then maybe Manning and Skubal as well. The group is coming. the names we all know now, and they're here. And I think it's very exciting to watch this group come together and coalesce in what I believe is going to be a very competitive team. I think as early as next season. Think about Cleveland. They may have to trade Lindor. They've already moved Kluber. That's going to be a different team in a couple years. There's an opportunity, and it's now time for the Tigers to really start building that momentum.
One last question for you, John. I saw you on your Twitter account making your picks for the best team in each division. So I'm going to ask you, what are your preseason World Series picks?
Daniela, thank you for asking. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching, by the way, those picks. I heard from all my closest friends in Georgia when I had the Braves picked fourth. We could talk about the NL East another time. I think right now, I would say for the World Series, I actually have Cleveland facing the Dodgers and the Dodgers winning. I think Cleveland, yes, they've traded Kluber, but you look at the rest of their rotation, 1 through 5, with Bieber and the way that he has developed into a possible Cy Young winner, Clevenger, Plesac, Savali, Carrasco coming back. That is as good of a 1 through 5 as I can see right now in the American League. So I look at Cleveland, Terry Francona. I always trust his ability to get the most out of his team. Lindor, I'm sure, wants to win another championship for the American League there and maybe even win a World Series championship there in Cleveland. So I like Cleveland to win the league, but I think the Dodgers still have the best team in baseball. I think the Dodgers find a way to finally win it. Their first World Series since 1988. So one of Kirk Gibson's old teams breaks their streak right now. The Tigers, we'll get to that one here in the next couple of years.
I love it. I like the Dodgers too. I like that pick. Well, JP, thank you so much for joining us today. Have so much fun in Cincinnati. We'll be watching.
Can't wait. Thanks for the conversation to you both, and look forward to staying in touch during the course of the year. And yes, just being back at the ballpark for all of us, it's going to mean something a lot to everybody. So thanks for the conversation and for doing a great job on the show, as you always do.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon. And a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward. Thanks again to John Morosi for joining us for Brush Street Beat. Now, you guys, we're going to get into our mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars. Today's mailbag guest is Matt Shepard, Fox Sports Detroit play-by-play for your Detroit Tigers. Matt, how you doing? It's great to see you, as always.
You too, Danielle. I hope to see you at the ballpark sometime soon as well.
Oh, yes, I hope so, too. I'm excited that it's finally starting. Tomorrow is opening day. And I want to ask you one question before we get into our mailbag questions, Matt. We're through summer camp. We've had 2 exhibition games. The final roster is out. How are you feeling heading into the Tigers opening weekend about this team?
I'm really excited for him. I mean that. I think I'm looking forward to watching Kristen Stewart and Jacoby Jones and Nico Goodrum and Jamer Candelario kind of take that next step that these younger major leaguers have to take in order for this team to be really successful. We get that the young guys are coming and they're coming fast, but the young guys who have major league experience have to be better this year if this team needs to have success. And I think they're ready for that challenge. And I should mention also guys like Matthew Boyd and Spencer Turnbull as part of that pitching staff too. So I think there's a lot of storylines for this team this year and a lot of excitement that should be building around this club.
Another quick question for you. We talked to Dan Dickerson and learned that he's going to be calling a lot of the away games from Comerica Park. How is that working for you? Are you traveling to Cincinnati?
No, I wish. Instead, we're going to be calling it from our Southfield studios at Fox Sports Detroit. We've set up a huge second studio for us. Our crew's been readying for this for a long time, and they've got it set up so we're socially distanced, but we are also as close as we possibly could get to the action, knowing how far away we're going to be.
I love it. It's still just as exciting, and hopefully we will be at the ballpark soon enough. Let's get to our first question of the mailbag. And Matt, this one is for you, and it's Jack from Bloomfield Township, and he asked, who is the most dominant pitcher that the Tigers will face this season?
That's a good question, Jack. Here's the deal. The Tigers are going to miss guys like Garrett Cole and James Paxton with the Yankees. They'll miss Blake Snell and Charlie Morton with Tampa. No Verlander, no Lance Lynn, no Mike Minor, no Corey Kluber. Originally, they were supposed to cross over and play against the National League West, so no Walker Buehler, no Clayton Kershaw, no Chris Paddock, right? No Madison Bumgarner. But they're going to see a heavy dose of Jose Barrios, Lucas Giolito. I'll tell you this. I think that the 2 toughest pitchers they will face, I'll go one in American League and one in the National League Central. Okay, so the American League Central, I think it's got to be Shane Bieber. He was the All-Star Game MVP a year ago. He's a dynamite thrower. And then I would say from the National League, it would be Jack Flaherty of St. Louis, top 10 in the majors a year ago in ERA and in WHIP. And after the All-Star Game, Jack, this guy had a .091 ERA. That is the third best in Major League Baseball history. The only pitchers with better numbers, Jake Arrieta and Bob Gibson. So I'll take Flaherty and Bieber as the two most difficult pitchers the Tigers will face this year.
Art, I have a question for you before we get to your actual mailbag question, but you have to promise me that you're going to make it quick. Promise?
I'll try.
I'm just messing.
She's asking you to be somebody you're not, Art. I don't want that, man.
No. I already have I already have two questions for Matt already. So, but go ahead, fire away, Daniela.
Right. The Seattle Kraken. I got to get your thoughts on it. It's official. The 32nd team will be the Seattle Kraken. What do you think?
I am biting my tongue because I know that the opposition is going to probably have a divisive chant already. I mean, if you shorten Kraken, I don't want to really get into it, but I think that's going to be a real delicate balance. First of all, I like it. I do think that their uniforms, although it's several shades of blue. It's not a black jersey. It's a dark blue jersey, and then it has a little bit of a red highlight. But it really does look like, especially the road jersey, the white jersey, looks too much like the San Jose Sharks. I would think, and that blue. I know teal is not the cool color it used to be. I like the logo though. I like the logo because that's a Kraken tentacle in between that S there. So, and the anchors, but that color though is kind of like been Seattle's color. Even the old Pilots had that. They've always kind of had that same color combination. And at one time, the Seattle Seahawks also had that color combination till they went to the fluorescent green or whatever the hell they're wearing these days. But probably a Nike thing too. By the way,
the Mariners. Isn't it a little like the
Yes,
Mariners?
yes, it is.
I mean, that color scheme, just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the Mariners, when you used to love Danny Meyer, right? So when Danny Meyer and the Mariners, when he's playing with the Mariners, it was more of a blue and yellow, right? Now it's more of the dark blue and green, similar to what the hockey team's going to be wearing.
You know what? How I remember the Mariners, and Matt, you'll remember this. Daniela, you were just a beautiful dream at that point with your parents there.
Willie Horton, is that how you remember him? You remember Willie Horton?
No, Willie Horton played there. No, I remember going to watch the Tigers play the Mariners on a Monday night, where I used to sit for $5. The upper deck bleachers, they were closed because they were too rowdy. So I had to sit in the right field lower bleachers, and the bleachers were completely empty, and it was against Seattle. That's how I'll always remember it. The upper deck bleachers, by far at Tiger Stadium, best seat ever.
Yep.
Best seat ever. And it was wild out there. It was just
Daniela,
wild. Now, my couple
seriously, does that surprise you, Daniela, that Art is usually the guy in the upper deck, right? And they had to close it down because they were too rowdy. How perfect of a reason and example is that of Art Ragnar?
Yeah, I used to have people bitch at me.
That's right. It was his fault. That's absolutely right.
I was part of it. When Lou Whitaker would come up to bat, I love telling this story. I'm far away. It was like 440, and I think it was even longer straightaway center. They just put 440 up there. I am screaming, Lou! I mean, at the top of my lungs. I have a pretty loud voice. I'm screaming, Lou, because I love Lou. I love Lou. He should be in the Hall of Fame. People would tell me, hey, shut up. Shut up. He can't hear you. What are you? Just shut up. He can't hear you. And I said, oh, yeah, he can hear me. He can hear me.
I'm sure he told you later in life he could hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a thing going with mice, too.
So that was good. It was pretty quick. It was
all right.
Anticipated and got to baseball. So your question for the mailbag is a baseball question.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Number 2 is Eric from Roseville, and he asked, the Tigers showed some pop in their scrimmage against the Reds. How many home runs are you expecting on opening day?
On opening
Well,
day, so against Sunny Gray
this
is
one's
what we're
art
talking
first,
about,
Matt.
right?
Sorry about that.
No.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I defer to my colleague Matt Shepard, and then I'll answer.
Okay.
Well,
I have
listen,
3 questions now for you.
I didn't mean to step on your toes there, brother. I would say 2. I'm going to say 2. CJ Cron's bringing over 25 homers, okay, from Minnesota. Jonathan Scopes bringing over 23. This is a team that had the fewest home runs in the American League, second fewest in all of baseball. Only the Marlins had fewer. I'm going to say jump right out of the gate and touch Sonny Gray in that Reds bullpen for 2. Art, how many you got?
Well, it's interesting because I was going to say 2 as well. Definitely Cron's going to hit one. I definitely think CJ Cron's going to hit one. He's pretty locked in. The other guy that I'm thinking is Christian Stewart. I mean, he's been tagging the ball. And so, those are the 2 guys I would think too, because it was a weird couple of days. They hit what I think like 4 bombs on Tuesday's game, and then they only had 4 hits yesterday. So, Tigers still have to find it. But I think Sonny Gray's a guy that they faced, when he was in Oakland. So not that these guys would be familiar with him, but I'm just saying that, I think it's going to be 2. Quickly, man, I have 2 real quick questions for you before we get to your real next question. Number 1, I've known you a long time. I always like the mustache look on you. I always have. I've been a big fan of that.
No, it's bad luck.
But now
Bad
now, are you going to go full beard on us? Because I'm kind of thinking, wow, that looks good.
My bosses say no. It was hard enough to get by the silver hair, if you will, because I stopped coloring my hair a while back. I don't think the facial hair will work. I just have gotten lazy, and I figured I'll just look a clean shave for tomorrow, Art. But thank you, I appreciate it. My wife disagrees with you strongly.
Well, I'm hoping to see Lisa, pop in from the door behind you.
Not popping in. No, that's not happening.
No, I really would look forward to that. And secondly, haven't you called games remotely before? I mean, I'm not sure, but haven't you done that before? What kind of problem does that pose for you?
Well, the hardest part, Art, I think, is gauging the distance and how hard the ball's been hit off the bat more than anything. The other thing is you oftentimes in baseball measure where a ball is hit based on where the fielder is positioning oneself. And we can't always get that when you're calling it remotely. But we're relying on some really good pros in these major league markets. It's a little different than when I was working Big Ten Network and relying on just a few cameras and maybe people who don't have quite as much experience as the people in major league markets and numerous cameras at our disposal.
I knew it was Big Ten too.
Yeah. Well, you've worked for them, so you know. Yeah.
All right, Shep, let's get
Danielle,
to the next
we have a
mailbag
question for Matt.
Yeah, there's questions for Matt. You're taking them all, though. Okay, here's the next one.
I like Daniela, man. She sticks up for herself. This is great.
Oh, yeah.
Greg from Finalists asked you, Matt, now that the regular season is here, what do you think the Tigers' record will be this season?
That's really hard to predict because this is a season that you can envision, Greg, some injuries throughout baseball. I think in order for a team to get into the postseason, I would guess 33, 34 wins would be something. I wonder how many teams are going to be above 500. I bet you could see as many as 20 or so. I think the Tigers, in order to measure their success, I don't know if it's as much by wins as it would be the progress that some of the young pros are making. And when will we see a guy like Casey Mize? We're going to see him. Okay. And my guess is you'll see him perhaps 10 days in, 7 to 10 days in. And I think that's really important. So I don't measure it based on success. It's so hard to predict victories. I think if Detroit got, let's say, 25 and 35, you would see some progress made by some of those young players, and then some difficult decisions by the front office who are going to have these young guys, pushing their way into our consciousness anyway. I mean, you just got done talking to John Paul Morosi. Great interview, great discussion. Riley Green's the real deal, right? So you're seeing some of these young guys up and coming. At what point can they actually take over and grab hold of that job full time? Still remains to be seen, but it's always difficult to project in any season how many wins a team's going to have. We just know they're not going to lose 114 like they did a year ago. I just think Detroit it's a tough division, man. I mean, Cincinnati could win their division. St. Louis has got really good pitching and a very good hitting. Milwaukee, just the opposite, really good hitting, right, and a really solid bullpen. Those are all on their schedule, right? The Cubs are a pretty well-balanced team. So playing the NL Central is difficult. And then I think Chicago's greatly improved. When you've got the American League Central, 25 wins would be pretty good for Detroit, I would guess.
So, Matt, they definitely can't lose 114 games, which is a good thing here.
Right.
They can't lose 114.
Yeah,
we'll say
good
your
thing.
number's 25.
Yeah, they're going to be, look, Danielle,
cool.
they're going to be competitive. They are. They're going to be competitive. Okay. I mean, how many wins does that result in? I don't know. I don't think anybody does because anything can happen. I can tell you this, though, all the way back to Lakeland and now in summer camp, they're not listening to me. They're not listening to you guys. They're not listening to anybody. All they care about is what they believe in their clubhouse, and they feel like they got some good team. Remember this infield is brand new. I mean, Jamer Candelario played a little bit at third and a little bit at first last year. He's at third base. Nico Goodrum played a little bit at short, but he's an everyday shortstop. Jonathan Scope's new. Crone's new. Austin Romine is new. Why do we automatically think that this is the same team as it was a year ago? It's not.
Art, what do you think? Matt says 25 would be solid for the Tigers this season. I'm going to ask you in this terms. Are you saying over or under 25 wins for the Tigers?
Well, actually, I am saying over, and I will tell you this. They're definitely going to win more games than the Red Wings did. The Red Wings played 11 more games when it's all said and done than they played 71. So they're going to win more than 17 games. Let's put it that way. I thought really hard about this, and I really believe in, as you know, Casey, King of the Hill, Arthur Mize. And I agree with Matt. I think he's going to come up soon. I think he's going to be a breath of fresh air. I think in his own mind, he has a lot to prove. And I really believe that what I saw last night from Michael Fulmer, how the first two guys got on base with a single and a double, and then how he just bared down and then struck out the side, I believe, in the second inning.
Right.
I think they're going to be 27. Yeah. Right. I think they're going to be 27 and 33. That I really do think that. I mean, I'd love to see them be right around 500, but I just think that their starting pitching. I think Matt Boyd's gonna have a great year. I think Mize is really going to be a shot of adrenaline for them, and I think Michael Fulmer, as the season progresses, is only going to get stronger and stronger. And I love Spencer Turnbull. I mean, that's four solid guys right there. And Ivan Nova, he just eats up innings. So. My biggest fear with the Tigers, and I don't know if Matt would agree, and why maybe 27 and 33 is overly optimistic, would be their bullpen. I'm still a little, the bullpen gave up some, and I know they were all competing for spots, but I didn't like what I saw on Tuesday night. Obviously, in the bottom of the eighth, they lost the game there. The same thing happened last night, even though it was a pitcher's duel. Yeah. So bullpen's a little bit concerning for me, but starting pitching. Once you bring up Arthur Mize, they're going to be fine.
All right, guys, that does it for our mailbag today. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to remind fans that you can listen to Matt Shepard, who will be calling the game from Southfield on Fox Sports Detroit tomorrow night, opening day for the Tigers, 6:10 p.m. And then the home opener presented by Ballpark Frank will be Monday at 7:10. Matt, I do have to ask you this, too. I saw you guys joking around, messing with Simo a little bit about what he's going to wear for opening day. Do you have any idea what we're going to see from him?
I have no idea. Every time I've tried to probe a little bit deeper into that, I have been shut down. He has not responded. So it's all going to be a surprise when we see him tomorrow night, or whenever we see him for the first time. It'll be he'll let us behind that curtain. And that's when we'll all get that. That's something that we always look forward to on opening day. What Craig Monroe's, kind of been able to dive into his closet and grab out of there. I think he's going to have something special with a lot of English D on it. That's just my prediction. Maybe a pinstripe suit with some English D's in between or something like that. That would be pretty sweet. I actually went to his tailor. I went to the place where he goes and gets his suits earlier this year to try and have something made. It was just out of my price range. I mean, it's Art Regner price range. So I could not quite go that deep, but I was asking them if they could give me a hint, a sneak peek, and they wouldn't even divulge anything to me. So I need a little bit better in my investigative reporting in order for me to make a true good guess about that.
Well, since we're talking about fashion, and thank you, man, I appreciate that. I do consider myself a bit of a fashion maven. But I think if we can get a freeze frame, and then we should put it on social media. Should Matt keep, hey, I love Fox Sports Detroit, but sometimes, you've got to push the envelope a little bit. Should Matt keep the facial hair? I'm all for it. Let the fans decide. Let's put it on social. Let's put it up. You look great. Look at that.
It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. It's not even a debate. I mean, Daniela can be the nicest person in the world, and even she would have to admit that caterpillar looks terrible. Get it off your face. Shave it right now, and she's 100% right. I look awful with it. I should have never had it in the first place.
I don't think that didn't cross my mind.
Really? I mean, I think you look distinguished. I think it raises your IQ by 10 points.
Well, that means I'm a 20 now, so that's good. I appreciate it, buddy. That's great.
Right above moron level. I love it.
Oh, boy.
Well, Matt, now that we know your IQ score and what you're going to do with your facial hair for tomorrow, thank you so much for joining us for the mailbag. It's been fun.
Anytime, guys.
See you soon.
Thanks, Matt.
Good luck this weekend. We're looking forward to it.
All right, thanks. I look forward to seeing you guys again.
A big thank you to Little Caesars for presenting the mailbag. Little Caesars, pepperoni, cheeser. You guys could get. Ooh. You guys, I just lost my Little Caesars read. This is my favorite read. Stay here because this is a good one. Little Caesars proudly presents their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars today. Man, sorry, guys. You think I'd have that one memorized by now. I'm sorry about that, but you got to get your pepperoni cheeser. Maybe even order one while you're watching the Tigers game tomorrow night. Of course, we do have to talk a little hockey on the show, so let's go to an interview that Art and I did with senior content producer Dana Wakiji yesterday. It's time for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light, and today's guest is senior content producer for the Detroit Red Wings, Dana Wakiji. Dana, it's great to see you. Always great to have you on the show.
It's always good to see you guys. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're great. I'm hanging in there. I'm getting ready for sports to come back. We've got baseball starting up and hockey next week. So it's going to be a good week here. And mentioning hockey's coming back, Dana, let's talk about this 2014 playoff and this play-in round that we're going to see starting next Saturday. There's a lot of intriguing matchups. And even though the Red Wings aren't going to be in it, is there any matchup specifically that you're looking forward to watching or any specific team?
Well, I'm always looking to watch any sport right now, especially since we've been away from sports for so long. So I'll be watching the Tigers too. We have to look at all these teams and see who we should be rooting for, because some of the teams have players from Michigan. Some teams have players that went to Michigan, like Art, and some went to Michigan State. So, and so there are some people who also used to play for the Red Wings, like Tomas Tatar, who plays for the Montreal Canadiens. So maybe we root for Montreal. But then, as Art pointed out, but that would mean that the Penguins would be eliminated and they would probably get Lafreniere. So, forget that.
Don't get me started on that draft lottery, Dana. You know how that'll take this whole thing in an ugly direction.
Oh, don't I know it? My husband's convinced that somehow the Blackhawks are going to get Lafreniere, and I'm like, it could happen.
Anyway, with that said, there are some really interesting matchups. It appears that this is going to get started. It's going to work. It all begins on Saturday, August 1st. And what I really like about this, and I'm going to have to juggle my schedule between Tigers and all this hockey, there's 5 games a day for like the foreseeable future. Once it starts at noontime or 1 o'clock, and the last game begins at 10:30. I don't sleep anyway, but my gosh, this is going to be a cornucopia of hockey. I mean, if you're a hockey fan and missed it, regardless, unfortunately the Wings aren't in it, there's going to be a lot of good high-end hockey here in a very short period of time.
So what do you think who's going to have the advantage? Is it going to be the forwards, the D, goalies? I mean, it's hard to determine, with all this long layoff, who's going to have that kind of advantage.
I would say goaltending. I really would. I would go, if you have a really hot goalie, he can make up for a lot of teams' mistakes, and he can certainly steal not only a game but a series, especially these 3 out of 5. I think that's why everyone's definitely afraid if Carey Price gets hot in the Pittsburgh-Montreal series. Before you know it, boom, the Penguins are out of it, and then they have like a 12.5% to get the number 1 pick, the team with the 7th best record in the league. So, I mean, I would go that way, but I think what's great about this is that each series will have its own individual storyline. I don't think there's going to be something that permeates throughout the league that the best defensive teams are going to have an advantage. It all depends on what these guys did for these last 4 months. Were they sitting around, as Steve Yzerman likes to say, eating bonbons, or were they actually working out? So, it's really, really intriguing. I can't wait to see it.
Talking about teams that we should root for, obviously the Edmonton Oilers, they have a great lineup as it is. They're one of the best teams in the NHL, arguably the best, and they've got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. You got to think they're going to make a run deep into this playoff, but we also have Ken Holland there now, who is former Red Wings general manager, and that's got to be somebody that we're always rooting for.
I will always root for Ken Holland. There's no doubt about that. But don't forget, Riley Sheahan also plays for that team, and so does Andreas Athanasiou. So those are 2 guys. And Mike Green, even though he opted out, he's still considered part of the Edmonton Oilers. So I would root for him too if he were playing. So those guys also. The only question I have about the Oilers is they don't have a ton of playoff experience, obviously. So maybe that works to their disadvantage in that, the Blackhawks do have a lot of playoff experience. The one thing they also do have is they're getting older, so maybe that works against the Blackhawks. So we'll see. I think one of the interesting storylines I'm looking forward to seeing is kind of the emotional boost that the Philadelphia Flyers get from having Oscar Lindblom come back, and they just signed him to a new deal, and he's cancer-free. So I think everybody was rooting for him. So it'll be curious to see how they rally around him now that he's back.
When I look at it, and I know I'm obsessed with this Montreal-Pittsburgh series, but let's be honest. Whoever loses that is going to end up probably getting the number 1 pick, which either way you look at it, screws the Red Wings. It's either Montreal that's in their division, or it's the Penguins. I mean, can't both of those teams just advance and get out of the lottery? Can't we somehow? I mean, it makes about as much sense as the lottery made. But with that said, when you look at it and you break it down, I guess the team that I really, really want to see win the Stanley Cup, and I know Edmonton's interesting because of Ken Holland, who's a great guy. Mike Green's a good guy. Andreas Athanasiou was a pretty good guy, when it's all said and done. A little flaky at times.
And that's your Greek connection.
Well, right. That's what I was going to say. Last name's German. You got Draisaitl. And then, Athanasiou's as Greek as it can get, at least the last name. Okay, there we go. And I'm hoping that Connor McDavid is Irish. So maybe. So that's my 3 bloodlines there. I'm real shallow. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Edmonton. And Ken Holland's the topper. But with all that said, I really think the team that I really like and the team I really want to do well is the Winnipeg Jets. I know they got a tough one in Calgary. I think that's going to be a really good series. 3 out of 5. These things are going to be over quickly. Trust me. But especially with Kyle Connor, University of Michigan, from Michigan. Connor Hellebuck, who has great hair. He's a Vezina Trophy finalist in that. And then Andrew Kopp, a native Ann Arbor, University of Michigan guy, who really has solidified himself in that lineup. So, I guess emotionally I'll be with Winnipeg. And most of my family will be rooting for all the bloodline connections that the Edmonton Oilers have. But when it's all said and done, I still think the team that's going to win this all is going to be Vegas because of Marc-Andre Fleury. Yes. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be the difference maker. Mark my words, here on the 23rd of July, I've already picked it. Stanley Cup winner, Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, that's a good pick. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury has won the cup, so we know how great he is. But what about another team that we could root for is the Dallas Stars. They have Jim Nill, who's a former Red Wings assistant GM, great guy, and Todd Nelson, who was the Griffins head coach when they won the Calder Cup. He's an assistant coach on that team. They've got Tyler Seguin, who's a former Plymouth Whaler. I know the Plymouth Whalers don't exist anymore, but I remember interviewing him when he was 18 years old, right before the draft.
In all seriousness, Toronto has Columbus. I think that is going to be a fascinating series too, how that can end up playing out, because there's a lot of pressure on the Leafs, as we know. Sheldon Keefe, the new coach, they had some transition, but Columbus is one of those teams, when you have a John Tortorella coach team, hey, anything can happen. And, and I really love going down to Columbus where they have to root for the Blue Jackets. And we know how much they hate blue.
Dana, before we let you go, let me ask you about this too. Art mentioned the Blue Jackets, and just last season, they knocked the Tampa Bay Lightning, who was a heavy cup favorite, President's Trophy winner last season. And what do you think they're going to do in this new playoff format? Do you think it's going to benefit them, or do you think they're going to struggle again?
Well, we're going to see. It depends on, with Columbus, they have great defense. Like, they've got Zach Werenski, Grosse Pointe. They've got Seth Jones, another great all-star player. And so, how good their goalies are, we'll wait and see after the long layoff. And Tampa Bay, they have a lot to prove. So they probably have a huge, chip on their shoulder, and they just cannot wait. They're probably chomping at the bit. You saw that video they made as soon as they were allowed to get back on the ice together. They were all on their jet skis getting ready to go play. So, and Vasilevsky, when he's hot, well, the Wings still haven't beaten him, I don't think. So, he's a fantastic goalie. They've got so much scoring. They got Kucherov, they got Stamkos, they got Point. I mean, Tyler Johnson, it goes on and on. So they have all the pieces they need, and a lot of people are picking them. So we'll see if they can finally break through this time.
One final question for you. We've talked about a lot of teams here, but we haven't heard your picks. Who's going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and who's ultimately going to win the Stanley Cup?
Ultimately going to win the Stanley Cup. God, it's so hard without knowing in advance who's going to stay healthy, but I actually am going to pick the Flyers because of the whole emotional thing. I'm going to go with the emotion thing. And then from the Western Conference, I'm going to go with Colorado, even though nobody wants to see Colorado win, but they're a great team.
So Philly and Colorado in the final. Who's hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup when it's all done, Dana?
Then I'm going to go probably with Colorado. I think they've got a little bit more depth.
I think Vegas is going to win, as I said, and I hope that they defeat the Maple Leafs in the final. That would be great.
I think I'm with Dana, though. I'm going Colorado. So we're going to stick to Colorado winning the Stanley Cup. Thank you, Dana, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. Always great to chat with you. And a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. Well, guys, we gave you some teams that you can root for in the upcoming NHL playoffs. Why don't you tell us in the comments who you are rooting for? Next Saturday, we're going to have some hockey, so we're all really looking forward to it. Before we toss to today's headliner, Miller Lite is teaming up with the Detroit Tigers to gift one pair of authentic seats from Comerica Park to the most deserving fans so they can feel like they're in the stadium watching the game and enjoying some Miller time. Starting today, fans who are 21 years of age or older can email bestseat@millerlite.com, share a photo of themselves or the nominee, and in 150 words or less, share why they, as a baseball superfan, deserve the best seat in the house. The winner will be announced at the end of July, and seats will be rewarded shortly after. How cool would that be? You'll be sitting in your house watching a Tigers game and sitting in some actual Comerica Park seats. So make sure you guys are entering, because that will be great. Now we're going to get to our headliner, you guys, and Art is joined by your opening day starting pitcher, Matt Boyd.
Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. And let's bring in Tiger starting pitcher Matt Boyd. Matt, thanks for joining us on the headliner. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, Art.
Okay, I want to ask you, start first off, I'm a lifelong Tiger fan. They're Detroit's oldest franchise, charter member of the American League, been around from 1901. So from 1901 all the way up to 2020, someone has started opening day for the Tigers. You're now part of that esteemed group. How does it feel?
Honored. I'm truly honored. It's surreal to think that. I'm growing up as a Seattle Mariners fan. Obviously the Mariners franchise is not nearly as old or storied as the Tigers is, but you always look at teams like the Tigers or the Yankees, these teams that have been around, charter members of the American League, teams that have been around, since the beginning of 1900s. And you go like, it's the nostalgia, the tradition, everything that comes with it. It's special. So to be named an opening day starter, it's an honor. It's something I don't take lightly. Kind of crazy to think about it. But man, I'm so thankful. I'm just so thankful for this team and this franchise and the city, for letting me be a part of it these last 6 years. And it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it. Excited for Friday and to go represent the Old English D, and we all are as a squad. We're ready to go take on this thing.
The thing that I really like about you, and you had a lot of great quotes, and you're certainly a very humble young man, but with that said, you visualize this. You said, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I always thought I would be in this position. And then you hearken back to your days at Oregon State, where you're thrown out of the bullpen for your college baseball team. And here you are starting for the Detroit Tigers. Can you talk about, I don't know if it's a positive frame of mind or that confidence, where you always knew, as humble as you are, that you would be on, as you like to say, the bump Friday night in Cincinnati starting for the Tigers?
It's I wish I could say it's my own doing, but it's the Lord. He's given me those things. He shows you things and he calls you to certain things, and that calling. Once you start to understand what that calling is, then it's like, okay, well, this is my path. I'm gonna just go down this. I don't. Sometimes it's easy to see. Well, it's easy to believe what's seen, but it's believing in what isn't seen is really what sets you apart and is what he calls you to. And you go back to Oregon State and it's like, man, I know I'm going to be pitching on the bump as a starting pitcher in Omaha, and I'm going to go do it. And senior year, we got to do that, and freshman year, we're sitting there and we're losing at Florida in the regionals. We're 9 wins away from that, which is a lifetime away from that, but I'm like, no, I knew we were going to be there one day. And, I know we're going to lift a World Series trophy in this town. I believe it. I believe it in my heart. And, it's just knowing that. And, there's lots of times where, it doesn't look clear, when you have a 6.5 ERA in New Hampshire or 6.5 ERA in the big leagues, or somewhere in between there, you just know that, hey, I know what I'm called to. And that's just, I'm called to just be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball or in the pitch. And I'm going to attack that day at a time. I don't know where that's going to end up. I don't know, when some of these things happen, but I know that man, some exciting things are going to happen. And, I'm just thankful for this opportunity. I'm really truly grateful. It's not me alone. It's the people that have poured into me. In every kind of facet of life, whether it's a coach or my wife at home. My father. Mom. Everybody has. But I'm thankful for it, and I believe that the best days in Tiger baseball are ahead of us, and I'm excited for it, and I can't wait for it to happen.
can you describe the feeling and the emotion of this Tigers team? And I would imagine when you face adversity, when the game's over, before they let all the media or whatever, and it's just you guys in the room, so to speak, kind of like looking at each other and thinking, hey, this has got to stop. I mean, is that where it comes from?
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, you can even say you go back to the last few years, and there were some of those years where we just sat there and we'd show up to the park and not believing anything. And that wasn't last year. We would go, I don't know how we're going to win this game. But last year we showed up every single day, and we had guys that were doing everything they can to win a ball game. We had guys playing out of position because we had injuries. We had so many injuries last year as well. Guys were doing everything they could to win, right? They were being selfless in that stint. I mean, Nico Goodrum played all over the field. Brandon Dixon played all over the field. These guys were doing everything they could. And unfortunately, we were at the other end of the wrong end of the beatings. But when we got done, we always knew we put our best foot forward today. And you know what? We're close. We know we are. This sucks today, but we're close. We're going to show up tomorrow ready to win. And that was pretty cool about our team last year. I know it was probably the worst statistical team in terms of record that came out of it. But record doesn't always show what's going on. So, we're excited for this season. We're excited to get out there and compete. And, when you're going through it together, it's going to make that being on top, going through it together a lot of fun. So we know that day is coming, and we're expecting it, and we're just going to keep fighting for it.
When you look at this team, obviously everyone's excited about the young Tiger Arms. Heck, I had Casey Mize on a couple of weeks ago, and I'm looking at Mize and Screwball and Manning and Faedo, and I'm thinking the Braves of the '80s or something. You're a starting pitcher. Obviously, you want to be the number one guy here in Detroit for many, many years. I understand that. Not difficult, but you just show. I just said how much of a leader you are. What do you see in this young pitching staff, and because you're more than willing to give them any kind of tips or anything, how excited are you for this young staff?
Man, I'm excited. I'm sure in any other kind of world that we were living in, except this COVID one, it might be up this year, but that's not the world we live in. So it's exciting to see where they're at. It's exciting to see how I learned from them. I just got to watch. I've been paired up with Casey Mize over this camp, and yesterday we had to finish up because of the rain came. We finished up in the batting cages for our game, and so I got to sit right behind the net. And man, I tell you, if I had his stuff, I'd throw mine away. And when it comes to pitching arsenal, he's so immensely talented. I mean, and so are Alex and Scoobs, and obviously those guys haven't been with us yet, and so are Matt Manning. Maddie's been here, but all those guys are immensely talented, and I know that being in camp, whether it's spring or right now, competition breeds success, and they've fed off it, and they've pushed other guys to become better players too. So it's exciting to know that they're close. We're going to be a better ball club, when they're ready to come up. We know that as it works with any prospect, right? That's the goal, is that someone's coming up because they're ready and they're going to make us better. That's why they're on the team. So we're excited for them. I know their time is close and it's soon. Hopefully it's sooner than later, because watching some of these guys pitch, man, it's impressive, and it's exciting.
Yeah, when you look at a 60-game schedule, anything can happen, as we've talked about. The one thing that's impressed me during these inter-squad games, I'm thinking inter-squad games, buddies playing against buddies. I mean, maybe there's a case of beer on the line or something for the winning team. What kind of incentive is there? I have been completely impressed by the competitiveness and the way you guys are going after each other. I guess based on the junkyard dog mentality, I should not be surprised by that, right? I mean, this is a team that's very, very serious, and when they get, you get on that diamond, they're all business.
Yeah, and it's kind of been the fun thing about it, is that and guys are hungry. Guys want to get after each other, and it's in the best way. It's making everybody better. So it's really exciting. It's been a lot of fun, and man, I give credit to our coaching staff for kind of creating that culture and allowing us to just go forward in it.
when you look at this team and you look at your year last year, you started off really, really well, had a kind of a rough second half, still sixth in the league in strikeouts. Where do you think it went a little bit off the rails last year for you, and how have you addressed that in this offseason? Because I know that you're working tirelessly to be the best you can be.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of aspects that go in to kind of that number column, right? Some of a lot of it's out of your control. Some of it is. There was some off the field stuff that happened last year just with our family. We welcomed in our beautiful baby boy, Isaiah, who's about to turn a year old now, which is crazy to think about. With that, we lost my grandfather at the end of the year last year. Right after our little guy was born. So, we had some crazy stuff going on there. That's no excuse, but I'd like to think, being completely honest, I probably should have been, I'm doing a disservice that there's not 100% of Matthew Boyd on the mound. And there were probably times last year where I wasn't completely where my feet were, and that's no one to blame but myself. And I know I can get better in that. On the skill side of things, there's lots of things that also can get better. I got very one-dimensional, if you will, with my pitch calling. I was commanding my fastball on my glove side a lot, really, really well, and my slider was really, really developed into a great weapon for me. With that, there's also some things that, if I get one-sided, I'm going to face a lot of right-handers, and when I start to throw consistently in and a slider that's breaking into their barrel, well, it's going to be feast or famine time, right? A lot of the problem with a lot of the runs that were created were from home runs. And that was really my downfall. I think I was second in the league in home runs allowed. Now with adjustments that are, I know that I can command my fastball down and away. So it's not a measure of if I can do it. It's a measure of doing it more. So that became a focal point. Like, okay, let's establish the heater away as well. I have a changeup and a curveball that were kind of underutilized. Let's use the changeup a little more. And, I kind of reworked my curveball a little bit. Got the metrics to be a little bit different on it by messing with the grip and release, and it made it a lot sharper. So now that's going to be another weapon that's more of a 12-6 motion as compared to that slider that's going to be working into the barrel. Curveball goes up and down, and you couple that with the changeup that's going to go away from a right-handed hitter. So I like to think with those adjustments, and now with pitch calling using all four, it's going to open up things for me a little bit more. Guys can still hit home runs. I might still give up 39 home runs, right? A lot of it's out of my control. They could go hit my perfect pitch and hit them out. But the part that I can't control is understanding, hey, I can change up this pitch calling a little bit. I can command my fastball to the other side of the plate, and I can also use my curveball and my changeup in addition to my slider and my fastball, which are very effective. With those things, hopefully that'll make things a little bit better. But then again, though, right? So much is out of your control that it's going, okay, it's knowing I've done all the work. This is my game plan. I trust it. Now I'm going to go forward with it and go full tilt with it. So we're excited about what's going to happen this year. I'm excited about those changes in my game. And, it's baseball's adapting game by game. So we'll do it game by game, pitch by pitch.
Well, first of all, no excuse is necessary. Sometimes life gets in the way of what we love doing. Sometimes you have to refocus, and there's you should hey, congratulations obviously on the birth, and hey, we've all lost family members, and it's difficult. It's not a good, it's not easy,
Okay.
so no, seriously,
yeah. No, I appreciate that, Art. But some of it's hindsight, right? In the moment, I wouldn't have told you that, but you look back and you go, man, I like where I'm at right now, where my feet are right now. Now I'm starting to realize, was I really like that a week ago? Was I really like that a month ago? And it's going,
yeah.
And that's what you learn from, right? You have to very, objectively look at that and say, okay, things are going to happen in life. That's inevitable. Death happens,
Right.
Other things are going to happen in life. My basement could flood out right before a game and everything, you know what I mean? So, God forbid anything like that happen, but crazy things happen, and they're going to continue to happen. But it's how you adapt in that, and how you are able to actually look at yourself in that and be have the awareness to say, man, I'm flawed in this sense. I can be better here, or I can be better over here. That's how you're going to grow forward. And whether it's life, whether it's baseball, or anything in between. So you know, it was a learning experience for me. I'd like to think if the situation happens again, I'll do some things differently. You know, I'm grateful for everything that has happened. You know, my grandfather's in a better place, and man, I got a great little baby boy that's just so much joy. He's already given his bigger sisters a hard time, so it's a lot of fun.
What the heck do you expect Friday night against the Reds?
We're going to go out there and compete one pitch at a time. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know what we're going to do. We know what we've prepared for, and we're going to go do that. And, you know, knowing what you expect of yourself and doing that consistently, usually winning and success, how the world defines it, is a symptom of that. So we're going out there and we're going to go attack and, you know, go do our thing, compete one pitch at a time and play Tiger baseball, and ready to go get after it.
The Kingdom Home Foundation, talk about the genesis of that and where you're at right now, and if fans want to get involved or if they can help, because I'm sure they certainly would like to. It's such a great cause.
Yeah. So my wife and I started a nonprofit. It's called Kingdom Home. Our goal is to end child sex trafficking, child sex slavery through prevention. Our goal is to get to the children who are at risk. There's a large criteria that determines a child who's at risk, and get to those children and then bring them into a home where, you know, they can have 3 meals a day. It's not an orphanage; it's a home. They'll have house parents, you know, aunties, a mom if they're boys, it's a dad, and uncles, and you know, they get to live as a family with brothers and sisters. It's pretty cool. You know, these children now get to go to school. They get to choose what they want to do in life instead of be forced into something that they don't want to do. And our goal is to either give them vocational training or pay for university down the road when that comes to it. So right now there's 156 children under Kingdom Home's care in over 4 homes. And we over this last year, we've kind of slowed down in terms of the timeline based on kind of what's going on in our world. But we've bought land, and now we've started construction on our first home. So we're raising money to build these permanent homes. Right now we're renting. There's a beautiful piece of land. It's got a river right next to it down in Uganda. So if you want to give, kingdomhome.org is our website. You can sponsor a child on there or look at any of the current projects that are within there and give towards a direct project. And man, it's pretty special what's going on there in Uganda. We got there's some awesome people that are involved, and it's a lot of fun.
To have a player like you wear my team's uniform, to wear that Old English D, it doesn't get any better. I can't tell you how it makes me proud that guys like you are Tigers. Let's just put it that way. Continued success. Good luck this season and wherever your path takes you, because I know that you've got a lot of things that you're going to accomplish in your life there, Matt Boyd. Thank you very, very much for joining us on the Headliner.
Thank you, Art.
All right, that'll do it. Daniela, there he is, Matt Boyd, starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. That'll do it for this edition of the Headliner, brought to you by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer. It tastes great. It's only 96 calories, and it's available for delivery. Back to you, Daniela.
Thank you, Art. Great to hear from Matt Boyd. Excited to see him pitching tomorrow for Tigers opening day. Right now, you guys, we're going to get into Let's Socialize, presented by our friends at AAA. And of course, we have to bring in Carly Johnston for Let's Socialize. She's been all over. She's got all the questions for us. Carly, what do you got today?
That is right, Daniela. I got a few really good questions today. We're going to start with one for Art. And I'm going to see if you understand this movie reference that's hidden somewhere in this question. With Red Wings contracts ending, how does it feel having so much salary room for activities?
Well, if it were the Red Wings of old, it would feel great. But with the Red Wings being in a major rebuild, I think, and, you know, we've said this, and, you know, I know that both of you have heard me say this way too much ad nauseum now. They may have a lot of cap room, but what Steve's going to do with that cap room is going to be the interesting thing. They're going to sign a goaltender, obviously a veteran free agent goaltender. They've got to, you know, I think they want to get the BT Express, Anthony Mantha. They want to get him signed long term. They've got to get Tyler Bertuzzi signed long term, and Robbie Fabry, I think, is going to get a contract. I would say maybe a 3-year deal. After that, I think Steve's going to be very, very selective and almost frugal with his cap space, because where he believes, and I know we've said this over and over and over, he's not really going to go out and pursue high-price free agents unless, Michigan State's own and Livonia's own Torrey Krug would like to come back to Detroit. I just don't see him leaving a good situation in Boston. They're so close to winning a cup. I would say that when Steve starts spending to the ceiling of the cap, when the Red Wings get back up there where we're all used to them being along, is the point where that's Yzerman's signal that we're going to make some noise now. We're in a position where we're going to compete. The rebuild is officially over. It's now time to get Detroit their 12th Stanley Cup. Let's do that. So I guess I'm excited. You never know what's going to happen, especially now. If the salary cap stays, this is interesting. Now, actually, this is an interesting point. If the salary cap kind of stays the same, that's going to force some teams that are up onto that ceiling where they were expecting it to go up a little bit. Everyone assumed the salary cap usually each year goes up, that they would have enough money probably to keep some players. There could be, because of, in Toronto, I'm kind of looking at you, that there could be some players that teams can't afford because of the salary cap. So that could maybe open the door up, and maybe Steve would delve into that. I don't know. I haven't. Usually when I talk to Steve, we just talk about friendship stuff because we're so tough. I wish, but anyway, I mean, I would look at it. I would look at it that way. I mean, they have money to spend. They're going to take care of Bertuzzi, Big Tony, a Fabry. They're going to bring in a goalie. That's going to cost them some money because it's going to have to be a really established veteran goaltender to go along with John Bernier. Certainly they have, whomever they're going to end up drafting. I mean, it's going to be the 4th overall pick, as we know, but that's going to be a good player. So, but I think at this point, he's going to be prudent, he being Steve, prudent and maybe somewhat frugal. But when he starts to spend, because he's not shy, look at the contracts he was giving out in Tampa Bay. I mean, and those were good players. If Steve is going to spend the money if he thinks you deserve it. He's going to do that, but they're not there yet. They're just not there yet. Certain players are. So I don't think, and I think he said the last time he actually spoke publicly, I'm just not going to spend, or I'm kind of paraphrasing him, I'm not going to spend money just to spend money, just to get excited. I'm not, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, Art Regner's available, I better spend, $45 million on him. I mean, he's just not going to do that. The team isn't competitive yet. Although, Steve, I would sign that deal. I want you.
I would spend $45 million.
Even half of that, Steve. I'd take half. I'm a bargain.
You take to be on Steve's team. Let's be real. All right. Moving on to question 2.
He wants me on that power play.
Oh, I would too, Art. All right, Daniela. So Ron Gardenhire is one of my favorite people. I think he is the funniest person that I've ever met. But what is your favorite thing about Gardy?
Carly, you're right. Gardy is hilarious. And Art, I do have to say one thing to you. You have been faking an arm injury from stretching out before the show, so you didn't have to show up for opening day tomorrow, just so Steve could pick you up. I get it now. It all makes sense. You had a plan.
Okay. Good connection.
Yes. That's right. That's good. I'm playing. You know what? I'm gonna. Oh man, I'll tell you. Getting older.
Getting old.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Man,
back to Gardy.
I gotta call Matt Boyd.
Back to Gardy. Yeah. Back to Gardy.
Carly, as you said, Gardy is hilarious. He's a great guy. But I think my favorite thing about him is how relatable he is. You kind of forget that he is the Tigers manager at some point. It's like when you're talking to him, interviewing him, whether it's a press conference or he joined us on the Word on Woodward. Like I said, you just kind of forget. He's a really relatable guy, really down to earth. And like you said, he's funny. So he makes it really easy to talk to. And I think he's got the Tigers going in a great direction. So I definitely have to say that I like him in that aspect too.
Love it. I know my favorite Garden hire memory was when he was first announced as the Tigers manager. I got to interview him during a Red Wings game, and we were both chit-chatting so much, just casual conversation before the interview, that we were almost late for our live hit. Anyway, great guy. Okay, so this is now going to both of you. So I posted my story on Instagram with my little question box, having people send in and submit their questions. And this is the other one I got from the Detroit Red Wings following the news that Seattle is now Seattle Kraken. They want to know, Art and Daniela, what's Kraken? Art, what have you been up to? What's Kraken?
Well, a Kraken is a mythical creature, and it is a gigantic, I guess, squid would be the best way to put it. As a matter of fact, I believe in Game of Thrones, the House of Greyjoy their symbol is a kraken. So, you know, it is a menacing creature. It is a menacing sea creature. And that is what a kraken is. It's, you know, it has a surly disposition. It looks like, you know, well, let's put it this way. The fans in Seattle are not going to emulate the fans in Detroit. They're not going to be throwing a mythical kraken onto the ice. Number one, they wouldn't have any arms because the kraken would bite them off if it were real. But this is a, this is a very, very, very surly, mean-spirited, mythical creature. It's much like, you know, it's a really angry. It would be like take let's say if Al the Octopi got upset, you know what I mean? You know, and decided to descend from. What? Okay, all right. But that's what a kraken is.
You're not answering the question. The question isn't what's a kraken. It's what's kraken. Like what's happening. Like what's going on. Like there's a play on words.
Look. You know what? I actually, unlike I guess the last question, which I guess I didn't understand at all, which I answered. But secondly, I know what's cracking. I know that's our social media team being cute, Andrew and Stacy. I know that, you know. So that's why I decided to describe what a kraken is. I got what's cracking. What's cracking? Wow, that's what's cracking. That's what's cracking.
You are there. I love it, Art. That's amazing. All right, Danielle, what's cracking with you? I don't even know how you're going to follow that.
Art Regner is what's cracking.
Oh, really, boy? I'm hot now. I'm just,
all right. That one. So moving on, the Red Wings welcomed the Seattle Kraken into the National Hockey League, and they tweeted saying, "Welcome." And Seattle Kraken responded, "Thanks, y'all." And then look at those emojis. I mean, I don't know. That just made me laugh a bit. I had to share that with you guys. So we got the Kraken and the octopus. So I don't know. Maybe we'll go hand in hand. Maybe we'll go together like peanut butter and jelly. Maybe not. Then last but not least, Art, what
I was gonna say, is that do they say that in the Northwest? I mean, what is Seattle relocated to the Great American South somehow? I mean, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like, wouldn't the Northwest be something like, "Hey, man, yeah, cool, thanks, Red Wings." You know, I mean, I just don't equate y'all with Seattle. Or do they in Seattle not even know where Detroit is and think we're in the South? Well, let's be friendly to them. Let's write y'all. I don't see anybody in Detroit ever using y'all. I mean, I'm not knocking it. Have you ever said it? I've never said it.
I don't know, Art.
It's you guys, right?
All right.
Hey, you guys.
That's Midwestern. Where are you
Thanks,
guys?
you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Carly.
All right,
appreciate it.
I've been waiting also for this, Art. I really I really want to get to this before we have to wrap the stream. But I don't know if you guys recall, you may have blacked out when you were telling us about this, but when you were telling us about your home run robbing catch, and you went through this whole very elaborate description of how you would have your home run robbing catch. You would be eating a hot dog in one hand, going over the wall with the other hand. So we actually have a screen grab of your dream that you had and of that description you gave us. And this is what we came up with. So our graphic man, Sweet Al Scott, superimpose your face onto Riley Green's catch, not just your face, but a hot dog in the other hand too. What do you think about that, Art?
I absolutely love it. I definitely want a copy of that. That would be me. Look at the intensity on my face. I am concentrating on that ball, and there's two things going on there. I'm definitely going to catch it, but I am not going to drop that hot dog. No way. Look at that. Look at it, man. I can look at the extension on that. I mean, and I am left-handed too. So I mean, it is correct, anatomically correct. And my hat is about to fall off because of my hair, but I love it. I love it. I think that's great, and that's exactly how I envisioned it when I was describing it, just like that. Man, I look pretty fierce out there. What a competitor.
I don't know why you're not in the starting lineup, Art. I would put you out there for sure.
I just pulled something warming up, or I would be.
True. All right, well, that's all I have for you guys. Man. We ended on a very high note. Great. Thank you for the laughs, Art, as always.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you, Carly.
You're doing a great job.
And a big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. Art, one quick question while we're talking about hot dogs. Did Dan Dickerson ever get his hot dog maker? He did.
Ooh, it's interesting that you should say that. According to, I decided not to loan mine out. I mean, I have it right here. I'm not going to use it today. But as a prop. I mean, I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that hot dog maker. But he is getting his own. And I know he's probably not. I blew a surprise, but according to the delivery service, it is on its way to his home. So he will have it in time to call opening day tomorrow. He and Double Wow, which I call Jim Price, they will be enjoying hot dogs, and they can toast the buns because, as we all know, everyone loves toasted buns.
I love it. And he promised that if he had the hot dog maker, he would take a selfie of him making a hot dog in the booth at Comerica Park. So I might have to send him a text and remind him that we're going to. Yeah, we're going to need that.
Hopefully it's delivered today. If it's not delivered today, hopefully it'll be delivered tomorrow in the morning so he can take it to the ballpark with him.
Yes, definitely. Tomorrow, Art, speaking of tomorrow, it's opening day. The Tigers are taking on the Reds. Yep. Start time is 6:10 p.m. We're going to have Dan Dickerson calling the game for 97.1, of course. And then we're also going to have the Fox Sports Detroit crew calling the game on Fox Sports Detroit. So home opener will be Monday as well at 7 p.m. Art, are you excited for a weekend filled with baseball or what?
Yeah, I really am. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be good. The last couple of games, as I said, I watched them on the Cincinnati feed. They did a good job, but they were Cincinnati Red announcers. So let's put it this way. They really didn't care too much about the Tigers. so I'm really looking forward to, hearing, our own announcers, Double D, because I have so much respect for Dan Dickerson and for Matt Shepard. One inning on the radio, then I turn the radio down, and then I turn on the sound on the television. So I go back and forth. That's the only way I can listen to it and, support both of my good friends. And so it'll be fun. I mean, it's going to be excellent. Look at it. And then they're on a streak of 20 straight days they're playing baseball. And then you throw in hockey once that starts. And, and I'm going to be watching that too. Thank heaven I have picture-in-picture. You know, I'm going to be in heaven. It's going to be great. It is absolutely going to be great. And I am pretty high on the Tigers. I think that if their pitching comes through, and you know, as I said, Austin Romine's the key. He settles these guys down, and they have confidence in him. You know, and you've got a manager who knows what he's doing, and Ron Gardenhire. I mean, they can do a lot of good things.
Well, Art, I'm sure all of our WOW viewers will be watching the Tigers opening day as well. And like you said, after they play on Monday, they've got 20 days of baseball straight. So we're going to be tuned in, locked in. And of course, the Word on Woodward will bring you everything that you need to know about Tigers baseball. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Make sure you turn on your live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. And we will see you guys next week.